Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
You bet. I'm not only blissed, I'm gammed.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. First, I want to thank you for coming out to the farm. It was so good to see you. And John Statmiller, after you left, he said, "Where did Dr. Shealy go?" You know, I had so many things that he wanted to talk to you about. And, oh, geez. And were you able to make it to the airport in time?
I got home in 58 minutes.
You know, so you and I were at the dining room table with the rest of the faculty and guests, and you said that you had to be at the airport in an hour, and I thought, you're going to have to do 80 miles an hour because it's about an hour and 15 minutes away. And,
I made it. It didn't get stopped.
How fast does that hot rod of yours go?
Well, I don't know. I've never been over 90. I mean, temporarily, every once in a while, I'm trying to pass someone. The next thing I know, it's up to 90.
Yeah, and that is an all-wheel drive pocket rocket that you have. Well, that's really neat.
It does have power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we were, okay, so you are in gamma, all right? Would you share with us what you mean by that, Dr. Shealy?
Well, gamma is a natural and, for most people, occasional state of extreme mental alertness, creativity, whoopee, that kind of feeling that everything is in the groove. And it is associated with creativity and happiness. And the interesting thing is, it is missing in every known disease. Not just depression and anxiety, but even those people who are coping reasonably well with cancer and heart disease, etc., still, the frontal lobes, especially the part of the brain that is associated with this kind of feeling and experience, just aren't functioning in gamma. Of course, it is missing in schizophrenics. It is missing in drug addicts of all kinds, whether it's alcohol, nicotine, or narcotics. And we have discovered in the last month that using our chakra sweep PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field device, putting a baseball cap on your head makes it easier. Just to set it on top of that it instantly produces a gamma EEG. I've had at least a couple of patients who come in extremely anxious or depressed, and within 15 or 20 minutes, they're feeling good. I think it's, again, one of my most important discoveries.
Dr. Shealy, I got a call from a dentist, and this dentist knows about the PEMF device, and was wondering how your devices might work in the dental office. So, for example, some people are really anxious about the drilling and the filling. The filling, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the minute you mentioned dentist, I thought, I bet it'll work there too, because it does decrease anxiety. You know what? It's slightly better than just I'm okay. Who cares? That's a nice state in itself to feel, I'm just okay, forget about all the crap in the world. But the state of being not only okay, but I feel super is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Shealy, how does that equate to the feeling of bliss with your bliss oils?
Well, I think it's the same thing in high gear.
Okay.
Let's say air bliss, for most people, is cruising, if you will, in a very nice state of being. And this is slightly elevated.
From that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
On the other hand, we do know that air bliss works well for depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to, I'm thinking about the dental chair. And,
I'm with you.
I really am thinking about the dental chair.
The only contraindication would be someone who's pregnant or someone who's a pacemaker or implanted electronic device. I know of no other contraindication.
Okay, so someone who might have a couple screws in his or her body, no problem. Someone who
I
might
wouldn't
have
worry
a
about that,
plate
no.
and some screws. Mm-hmm. Okay.
As long as
and this,
I'm teasing now. As long as loose screws are not in their brain.
You talked about creativity and happiness. I wonder if this should be required for Congress to get them. Well, we don't want to be.
I think we better encase the entire dome with PEMF devices.
And we're talking about pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. Now,
exactly.
When we talk about now, how is this different, Dr. Shealy, from the frequencies that many of us might be concerned about, like microwave electromagnetic?
Oh, totally different.
How
microwave is a microwave is a minimum of 1 billion cycles per second. Just to call it a microwave, you've got to get up to the gigahertz. But we're talking about a maximum frequency of 56.8 cycles per second.
Okay, 56.8 cycles per second. Luke Cassidy was here at the farm with you and Dr. Shane, Dr. Howard Shane, Dr. M.L. Shane, John Statmiller, Peggy Gawley. There were a lot of us here having fun and talking about all kinds of really neat things. And the conversations were going really, really fast. And someone who is not familiar with the kind of things that we talk about would be totally, totally lost. And Lou stayed overnight at the farm, and we had a chance to chat with him further. And he did a demonstration that was really interesting. He took a magnet, a very small magnet, the size of a number 2 pencil eraser. If you were to cut off the eraser, maybe a little bit smaller than that, but about that size. And he put it inside the loop of the PEMF device. And as that device pulsed electromagnetism, the magnet would dance, and it would dance at different frequencies as it went through the range of frequencies through the coil. And this coil class, if you'd like to see it, you can go to normshealy.com, and you can go to piezoelectric. There's a tab there. You can click on that, and it will show you what this coil looks like. Now, I've put this coil over my head and around my neck for about a half an hour, and I've only had a chance to do it a couple times because that's the amount of time that I've had this device. So I'm experimenting with this and seeing what it does. And, well, let me ask you this, Dr. Shealy. The next piece, and I should have more results in a week and then more results after that. What about for dementia? What about for Alzheimer's? Is there any thought about that?
I believe it will help those two. And that's a very complex study, of course. And I would like to do it Actually, Vince, the number one study I would like to do at this point is drug addicts. I don't, they're not part of my practice. People who come to me as a drug addict wanting to get off their drugs, their opioids or whatever. But, we have a crisis, even announced by the president, of the pharmacomafia's takeover of the world. And we have a crisis of opioid addiction. I believe this will break opioid addiction.
And how would you do that?
Alzheimer's too.
Yes. Okay. So if someone wanted to try this for dementia, which is overtaking heart disease, as I've read, if that's true, that
yes.
as a disease, this is a plague upon humanity. Dr. Shealy, I remember listening to an interview with a man who was helping to write the autobiography of President Ronald Reagan. And after he was involved in seeing the former president, week after week after week for months and months and months, another reporter said to him, "What's it like working with the president and writing the autobiography with him?" And this was after we all knew that he had Alzheimer's. Well, the reporter who was doing the interviewing of the president said, "Well, at first it wasn't so bad. I would see him every week, and I'm paraphrasing. I would see him every week, and he didn't remember who I was week after week after week, so he'd have to reintroduce himself." And he said, but then after a while, he didn't remember who he was. And so I think that the Alzheimer's study, will have its own challenges unless it absolutely works really, really quickly. And that would be fabulous to see, reversing Alzheimer's. Even for some people, keeping it at bay would be a darn nice thing. But reversing it would be really something else. Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. Dr. Shealy, I ran down to the kitchen during the commercial break, and I got the PEMF device, and so I put it on my head without a baseball cap in it. It kind of slid off with the headphones on. I can't do it with the headphones on. So I put it around my neck, and I have the headphones on. I'm next to the microphone. And can you hear the sound?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I can't get too close to the microphone because that is the...
it's picking up the frequency of the pulse.
Yeah. So, class, if you want... Now, you cannot hear this. You can't hear it audibly, but the microphone picks up this electromagnetic pulse. Here it is. But it's not audible. Typically, it's not audible without a microphone. And the reason that you can hear it is I just move my neck with the PIMF device around it toward the microphone. So I think I'm going to have to take it off my neck because of the sound that's being picked up. So, Dr. Shealy, can you explain how this will benefit people while I pop this off?
Well, basically, every cell in your body, when it's optimally healthy, has a charge on it. And we are electrical beings. Every cell in your body is like a small battery. Mm-hmm. And the normal charge on a cell is minus somewhere between 60 and 70, occasionally higher, but mostly 60 to 70 millivolts, negative millivolts. That keeps the cell whole and natural. Mm-hmm. Most situations where there is damage to the conductivity, if you will, of the cell, it becomes minus, let's say, 30 or 40, and that makes the cell hyperactive. Mm-hmm. What the PEMF device does is reset, I call it the thermostat, of the normal charge on your cells. Now, you don't want it minus 100, because then it wouldn't be active at all. But there's just tremendous evidence on all kinds of frequencies. Although those frequencies are generally very low in respect to, we're not talking about thousands of cycles per second, maybe 100 or so at the most. The ones in our particular chakra sweep range from 5.8 to 56.8 cycles per second. That is because my belief system that the chakras relate to the Earth energy. Earth itself is 7.83 cycles per second. Now, people are going to vary slightly because of genetics and health and all those things. So we do plus or minus 2. In other words, the first chakra would be 5.83 to 9.83, average 7.83. Each additional chakra adds another 7.83. So when you get to the seventh chakra, it's 7 times 7.83 plus 2 as the maximum. And that's the frequencies we're using.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Shealy, what about, you hear so many commercials, and I'm not picking on any commercials at this point. I want to make that clear. But to the advertisers. But what about the effect of this for those who might have ED? That'd be the men with ED. Is there an effect of the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device relating to maybe reversing ED?
Yes. Can I tell my story?
Oh, jeez.
Is it okay with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling that Luke Cassidy. You're talking about the story with you and Luke Cassidy?
Yes, of course.
A couple of years ago.
Yep, at the expo, Luke came over. I had a booth there. There are hundreds of people milling around, and I had a booth, and I'm sitting there, and Luke comes over and introduces himself, said Vince wanted us to meet, and he brought me the first version of this particular PEMF. So I'm sitting there in my chair talking to Lou with all these people milling around, and I just took the loop, the antenna, and put it around my leg.
Hold that thought. And we're going into commercial break. I want to make sure the class hears the rest of the story. Luke Cassidy, I'm sure he's listening. He is grinning from ear to ear. I know. And you're going to be chuckling, class, when you hear this. No kidding. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. NormShealy.com. And Dr. Shealy's telling the story about when he was at the Get Prepared Expo. He had met Luke Cassidy, and Luke Cassidy came over to his booth, Dr. Shealy's booth, and there were people all around. And what happened, Dr. Shealy? Well,
within 5 minutes, I said, "Oh my God, Lou, I've got an erection. I can't stand up." I mean, I'm 83 years old, and so I took the antenna off, of course, and continued talking, and within a few minutes I was back to normal. Now, I have to admit that I'm a research junkie. I like to do research, and this is one which I'd like to pursue, but it's just not my field. I need a urologist who would be willing to work with this, I think, because how do you measure and report the effectiveness on erectile function? I would love to try it because I think it has a great potential since ED is one of the common problems.
So this is an all call if you're a urologist and you'd like to get in touch with, do you want a urologist to contact your office, Dr. Shealy?
If there's a urologist interested, I would help them work out a research protocol, yes.
Okay, so you can contact Dr. Shealy at NormShealy.com, Norm at NormShealy.com, NORM at NormShealy.com. That's the email address if you're a urologist and you'd like to pursue developing a protocol with Dr. Norman Shealy. So,
and no, don't do it for yourself. Only if your urologist want to do it on patients. Just teasing.
So what happened, Dr. Shealy, is you had people coming up to your table, and you'd like to stand up and greet them, but
I'm sitting there saying, just a minute, I'll be with you.
Okay. Well, now it's known worldwide, Dr. Shealy.
Oh my! It's a fun world.
Okay, so we've experienced. Boy, you can hear this. You can hear this antenna. I have it near me, and geez, that's near the microphone, and I'm moving it away. I've got to keep it at least 3 feet away, or the microphone can pick up the sound of the electromagnetic pulses. Dr. Shealy, I've slept with this twice under the pillow for about 30 minutes, as you recommended, because I'm sensitive to these kinds of things. Do you know what the range might be that this is effective? The closer, the better, or how does this? How do you use this?
Well, interestingly, using my Gauss meter, it's pretty well gone at. Well, let's see. When you put it, if you put it over the very center of your body, let's say your solar plexus area, and I have the Gauss meter, I can measure it all the way down to your feet. Now, it's not full strength there, but it's full strength down to the thighs and up to the head, or up to the neck. Yeah. And then, so it falls off about 30 or 40% by the time it gets to the toes or the top of the head when it's on the solar plexus. So it does have at least a 2 to 3 foot range in which it'll affect it. Now, what's interesting, Vince, is I'm sitting here with mine on the top of my head, and my phone is in my ear. Now, I wonder what the difference in my phone and your phone is, because I'm not hearing anything. I even put my phone up while at the break and touched it right to the coil, and I don't get the rhythm.
Yeah, the difference, Dr. Shealy, is I'm in the studio, and I have an electro voice microphone.
Ah, okay.
And so what's happening is the microphone is an electromagnetic device. And it uses I'm trying to think of the right word, a diaphragm, if you will, attached to a magnetic coil to, when the vibration of my voice or whatever sound it picks up, it vibrates this diaphragm, if you will, and that creates an electric, an analog voltage. And what's happening is this electromagnetic device, the pulsed electromagnetic device coil, is producing a magnetic field which is vibrating the diaphragm of the microphone, and that's what's causing it. Interesting.
Well, I got my Gauss meter and turned it on, and it's at the lower frequencies right now. I can tell from the moving of the needle. But right now, down to my knees, I'm getting just over 50% as much as I'm getting up at my head.
Mm-hmm. And that's I've got the Gauss meter in front of me as well, and I have the coil at my feet, and I'm getting about 50%.
Right. So no matter where you have it on the body, your whole body is getting some of this frequency modulation, which is what we're doing. We're literally modulating in a healthy, restorative way the electrical charge on each cell in your body.
I received a call from a doctor, and this doctor asked me, "Well, what about the for the treatment of weak muscles? Do you think it might have an effect there? Have you
say that again?
Weak muscles? Do you think it might affect weak muscles?"
Ah, okay. That depends on what the weakness is. For instance, diabetic neuropathy. Mm-hmm. All of our research started 7 or 8 years ago with using PEMF to treat diabetic neuropathy. Mm-hmm. Now, what we were doing was treating people to the feet with the coil, near the feet, as well as over the chest for a total of 30 minutes once a week. And we had a highly statistically significant improvement in decreasing pain, and some over a period of a couple of months of weekly application, some reduction in sensory loss. So muscle strength would take a little bit longer, but there's no question that if a diabetic neuropathy, for instance, this is one of the best treatments in the world.
And as you were saying that, Dr. Shealy, I was thinking about circulation. Do you have a feel for the impact?
That's the most important of all. One of my patients with severe diabetic neuropathy was only 40 years old. And when we had it just, a foot away from his feet, he's lying down, and all of a sudden he said something. I said, Sean, what's going on? He said, I feel as if my feet are moving. Mm-hmm. And so what he was feeling was the sensations of awakening nerves, if you will, like when you first been asleep and waking up.
Sure.
And so I checked the temperature of his feet, which we had checked before, and his temperature had gone up 6 degrees. So later, on 2 separate occasions, I put the coil. Now, the coil we were using those days was like a foot and a half, 18 inches in diameter. Mm-hmm. And I put it over my chest, and within 10 minutes, the temperature on the chest increased 6 degrees. Mm-hmm. That means to me the heart has got to put out more blood and get the circulation even there in order for that to work. So, yes, it unquestionably increases circulation. And, of course, that will go along with the erection.
And as I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm thinking, okay, so people who have cold feet or cold hands, what does that mean, and what would this? I mean, I'm talking about someone who does not have diabetes who has cold feet.
Oh, right.
That's
a fight or flight, automatic nervous system response. Means they're anxious, nervous. Yes, I would definitely. Hey, I'm going to test it. It's kind of cool in my office today. I don't know why. I'm going to put it on my hands. I would say they're not cold, but they're cooler. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that, I noticed. I'm going to put it on my left arm. I'm holding the phone with my right one and see what happens. Because I bet you that within a few minutes at the most, that left hand will be warmer than the right one.
So I guess my homework, Dr. Shealy, is to find a microphone that does not pick up this pulse electromagnetic frequency.
Well, it sounds that way, yes.
Yes, so I can broadcast with this on my head with the headphones.
Yes. Now, for the last year, minimum, when I'm sitting at my desk, at home especially, when I'm working on the weekends and stuff, I actually have been sitting on the coil. That was before I learned about what it does when you put it on the head. Mm-hmm. So I have used this many days, 8 hours a day. I've also slept with it under my mattress because it'll go through the 6 inches of the mattress quite easily. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't seem to have a negative benefit even if you used it all day. But, by the way, Vince, I just touched my right hand with my left hand, and my left hand is definitely several degrees warmer than my right hand already.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Now,
research right here on the air.
So the next question I have, Dr. Shealy, is and I'm sure Lou's listening. So the problem that I have is that I can't, and this is probably a limited case because I've got headphones on, and I can't have the headphones on because the headphones aren't designed to be used with the coil. But if they were, maybe we should work out a different kind of coil for different applications. Is that possible? Because the coil plugs in to a jack on we'll call it the computer driver that drives the coil. Is is there a thought as to having a larger coil for husband and wives on the mattress? We'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com. So, Dr. Shealy, I figured I was going to fix this problem right here and right now, and with the sound that the microphone is transmitting across the airwaves. And so I replaced the Electro Voice microphone with a Shure, S-H-U-R-E, Shure Brothers, model SM58. I also have one of those in the studio as a spare, and it got worse.
Interesting.
So I got the magnet out that comes with the kit. It's this little magnet the size of one of those hearing aid type batteries, and or hearing aid cells. And I had the coil in my hand and the magnet in the palm of my hand. The magnet's jumping around at the same frequency as the sound that you hear. And by the way, I'm looking at the call screen, and we've got none other than Lou Cassidy in Illinois. Welcome, Lou.
Good morning, Lou.
I'm sitting here listening to you.
You know, the urologist is going to be angry with you.
Why?
Why?
What?
Because what we've been talking about.
Oh.
I'm teasing, of course.
Hey, Lou, thanks for calling in. And did you hear what I said about Norm at the expo? And you'd be grinning from ear to ear if you were listening to that?
And I was. I remember it very well.
So, Lou,
yeah.
We got to solve this problem with the microphone, because I would like. Let me bring it over so you can hear this, class. This is the sound that you hear when I put this coil on my head. So I can't broadcast. So I have to take the coil off. So, Lou, we got to.
I think I have a solution for you.
A little Faraday cage around the microphone?
Yeah, no. Just sit on the coil. That should be far enough away. What you're doing is you're inducing the magnetic field into the magnetic pickup coil of the microphone itself. That's where it's coming from. It's not vibrating the diaphragm. It is inducing directly into the pickup coil on the mic.
Okay.
And I think if you sit on it, it should be far enough away.
Well, can you hear it now? No. So that's what I'm doing. I put a pillow on the studio swivel chair, and I have a pillow on top of it, and I'm on top of the pillow. That's to not damage the coil.
Okay. And do you hear it now?
No, can't hear it at all. Well, I can hear it slightly through the headphones.
Okay, and it may be coming through the headphones and not picking up in the mic, too, because you got a lot of sensitive equipment in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Dr. Shealy, the next question that I have is, what about heart disease, lung disease, improving the circulation? Do you think that there might be some positive effects as a result of, well, would it improve the circulation at the heart and the lungs?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that another study that could be done was to use it right over the center of the chest to treat coronary artery disease.
So
I believe that, given, it might take a year or two, but who cares? It's safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then the next, you're going to be coming out with another antenna, right, or another coil, right?
Well, we can use two coils now. There are two places, two plugged ins for the coil, so you could have one coil that you put over the chest and another one anywhere on the body.
Lou, your thoughts on this?
Well, also, you were talking about a coil for your wife. You can plug in two coils, a his and hers coil, into the same box.
So, for those who have ED, could this be, on a mattress pad, under a mattress pad, and you can I'll tell you what, just.
Well, we need to talk about that after the break.
I was just thinking he could say to her, just give me a minute. I'll be right there. Oh, boy, I guess this is probably going to be our last broadcast. All right, we'll be right back just after these few short commercial announcements and top of the hour news. Dr. Norm Shealy and Lou Cassidy. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. We're talking with Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, and Lou Cassidy about the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. And I'd like to just share with you a description of what this looks like. So there's a coil wrapped in plastic that is 8 inches across. So if you were to measure it, it's 8 inches. It's probably the thickness of maybe 3 number 2 pencils in thickness, the coil. And there's a cable or a wire attached to that, plus and minus. And then there's a device that is about the size of, a little larger than a deck of cards, just a little bit larger, maybe 30% larger than a deck of cards. And then there's a power supply that plugs into the wall. That's it, and you get a magnet with it. So that is the description of what this device is like. I'd like to ask Lou Cassidy. Lou Cassidy, in the box that's the size of a little larger than a deck of cards, that has the words coil and power. So there's 2 coil jacks and 1 power supply jack. What is that box called?
Well, we just call it the control box.
Okay. And there's software in there as well as electronics. Is that correct?
Yes. It has a 32-bit microcontroller in it and software written, especially for that, and actually tuned to what Dr. Shealy wanted as far as the frequencies and the chakras.
Okay, so it's actually a pre-programmed computer, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's a single-chip computer, actually, is what it is. Mm-hmm. And from that, it goes to driver chips, and then a CMOS H-bridge arrangement in there that actually provides a lot of current to drive the coil, because that coil is driven for about 5 milliseconds every pulse that it makes. Mm-hmm. And what it does, it charges. That 5 milliseconds is the time it takes to saturate the coil magnetically, and then the power is dropped to the coil, and the magnetic field collapses. Mm-hmm. And that's basically
Lou, have you used the coil for yourself?
Oh, all the time.
Okay, and what do you use the coil for, or the entire system, I should say?
Well, mainly when I'm sitting there building more circuitry and building more devices, as Norm knows is quite a thing now. I sit on the coil, and that gives me much more energy. I can sit there and do that for hours on end. In comparison to not having the coil, I'd have to get up at least every 40 minutes and take a break and lay down and stuff like that. It gives me more energy, and it helps pain control. I have a back issue, and it helps that tremendously.
What about someone who has a problem with his or her hips? Do you think this is appropriate, Dr. Shealy?
Oh, absolutely. Now for most people, obviously there's some exceptions. For most people, you can put the coil all the way up to the upper thigh.
Okay. As Lou was mentioning that he's able to sit for hours and work on these devices, I was thinking, I'm sitting on the coil too. I am sitting, my back is straight, I am absolutely alert. I can feel a difference. It's not, I feel that I'm able to concentrate better. Is that what you would expect, Dr. Shealy?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Again, what it does, I think, is that negativity of any kind, whether it is poison, whether it is thinking, etc., changes the electrical charge on your cells. And what this does is normalize that charge on your cells. And so basically it resets the basic control center of each cell.
And, I remember asking you over the years, can you be sick and happy at the same time? And the answer was no, correct?
In general, now, you don't have to be depressed, yes. But it's hard to say, hey, I'm having a great time today when you're not ill. Well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if you are depressed, well, how have you determined that this has a positive effect on depression? How have you
Oh, yeah, well, the Zoom test for depression is in the public domain. It's been around for decades, and it's my screening test. There are 20 questions, and each of them has 4 possible answers from 0, let's say, to +4. And depending upon the question, what your total score is determines whether or not you're depressed. So there's a conversion of 1.25 times whatever the number of positive statements is. And so if you have a score on the raw score of 40 or above, then you are clinically depressed. I believe if you have a score of 41 to or 40 maybe to 49, you're what I call subclinically depressed.
And as you're saying this, you have researched the effect of the PEMF with
yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you've seen the scores change?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then the next question is, a lot of people have all kinds of stress. Some horrific stress. Some people have been stressed by being shot at. Some people
that's a big one.
Yeah. Some people have been stressed by the drill sergeant yelling and screaming at them, before they go to war. Some people are combat veterans. I can tell you that my father must have experienced some horrific stress because he had nightmares from the time he came back from World War II when he was dive bombed by the kamikaze planes in the middle of the ocean with no place to go, and ships all around him were on fire and guys were jumping into the water, and he experienced that, and he experienced in combat, and it was pretty horrific, and he ended up with nightmares. Those kinds of stresses although he's no longer with us, would they have been positively affected by this kind of device, in your opinion, Dr. Shealy?
I believe, yes, unequivocally. Now, I would really like to work with a group of veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, because they also are an epidemic.
In terms of what they're experiencing, the stress that they're experiencing, that's an epidemic.
After all of our stupid wars, starting with Korea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And those veterans are probably treated with chemicals, right?
Oh, God, which have no benefit whatsoever except to make them somewhat more sedated, if anything. But they increase the risk of suicide. The net result is 0.
I'm wondering if the Veterans Administration would be interested in actually solving this problem or solving it.
Being a government organization, I would say no. But then that's my opinion of government.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
In my opinion, all government is evil. Some more so. Period. Mm-hmm. End of report.
Mm-hmm. So for someone who is experiencing declining memory as we get older, I've got to tell you, some of the people whom I know will say, "She's like, where did I put that? I can't. Where are my keys? I can't remember where I put my keys. Where did I leave that other item? Boy, I'm having trouble remembering. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. I can't think of the word, but I know the word." So those people who are experiencing things like that,
definitely worth trying. Now, don't forget, of course, the other thing is, no device like this can substitute for adequate nutrition. And in today's world, where the entire world has been poisoned with Roundup and other horrendous poisons, we must increase our basic need for vitamins. including all of the B complex at the foundation. In other words, the minimum daily requirement that was set 70 or more years ago for each of the essentials is probably more than quadrupled because of the toxicity. So I don't think that the PEMF device can reverse that if you're not at least feeding the brain with adequate B vitamins, especially.
Okay. So, Dr. Shealy, what is the medical recommendation from Dr. Norman Shealy, MD, if we want to try this, and for a person who has slipping memory, maybe the beginnings of Alzheimer's, which is now overtaking heart disease? What would you recommend specifically?
I would start for the first month of taking 2 of Dr. Shealy's essentials. That gets you 50 milligrams of B complex and traces of everything else. A minimum of 2 to 4 of Dr. Shealy's U formula, and a minimum of 10 milligrams of astaxanthin, the best form of vitamin A. That alone can make a great difference in brain function, memory function, etc., in many, many, many people. So in order to be sure which one is doing it, I would try first those 3, and then if you have any problem left, and you probably will, then I would try the what I call the CAP PIMP.
Okay. And I wrote all that down, but I missed the dosage of the astaxanthin.
10 milligrams.
10 milligrams once a day?
Yes.
Okay. Lou Cassidy, Dr. Norman Shealy, and I'll be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to do this, because I have a feeling that you know someone. Dr. Shealy and Lou Cassidy are with us, both USA Preparedness instructors. And Dr. Shealy, here's what I've written down. So for those who are experiencing memory problems and maybe early dementia, or know someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, my understanding is, of course, you have to eat well. You have to eat and have proper nutrition. Then take 2 of your Dr. Shealy's essentials, 2 to 4 of your youth formula, 10 milligrams of astaxanthin, and then use the PEMF coil if you don't have the results from the vitamins and supplements. Is that right?
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
To be quite honest, since I believe all adults should be on that minimum basic vitamin mineral supplement.
Mm-hmm. And I am. And Dr. Shealy, but I take a little bit more of your youth formula than you mentioned. I take 6 of them a day.
It's okay if you some people. Well, almost everybody would tolerate 6 a day. Some people tolerate 8 a day. When you get above 8 a day, almost everybody might get diarrhea. So, 4, which is the usual dose, is certainly safe for all adults.
All right. And Dr. Shealy, do you recommend taking and I take 6 a day. So, do you recommend twice a day 3 capsules of your youth formula, or do you recommend spacing it out 3 times a day with 2 at a time?
Well, I don't think it matters, because the vitamin C is going to be in the body, longer than 3 or 4 hours. So I actually take all of mine in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so would you take your essentials and the youth formula and the astaxanthin all simultaneously?
In the morning.
I don't mean choke on it.
I
do.
Okay.
And,
for morning, for me, the average day, it is somewhere between 6 and 6:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the next question is the PEMF coil. What is the exposure time that you're recommending? Is it a time spaced out? Is it a continuous once a day? Is it multiple times per day? And for how long? What are your thoughts for most?
A minimum of 30 minutes, preferably 1 hour. And for people who need it, as early in the day as possible. For people who don't get what they need with an hour in the morning, then I recommend using it as often as you like, right up to bedtime or beyond.
Okay. So if I can solve this microphone problem, I can do 2 hours a day easily on my head. Now, do you recommend for those of us who want to improve our mental performance, those who want to improve happiness, creativity, and minimize depression, is that on the head? Could it be over the head, around the neck?
I think any of the above is fine. Now, I've just sat here for the last almost hour and a half with it on my head.
Okay. Right now, I'm sitting in the studio swivel chair, and I've got my knees. My knees are bent at 90 degrees, and I have it on my right knee, and the microphone's not picking it up. So, I'm experimenting with where I put it. What about for a Baker's cyst, Dr. Shealy? What is a Baker's cyst?
Well, it's a cyst behind the knee, more or less, right behind the knee. And it can get quite large. I mean, even a small one, half an inch in diameter, can be painful. And the larger they get, the more painful they are.
And do they just keep growing? I'm sorry?
We do a lot of movement of our knee.
Right. Do you think that... Do we know what a Baker's cyst is?
Well, like any other cyst, we don't really know. It's obviously an irritation of some kind of one of the tendinous attachments there. And, it's just some places around the body you develop cysts. But it can be in the middle of the breast. That's one of the most common causes. The places where people have, women especially, have cysts.
Okay. Is this something that we should try where in an area where we have a cyst?
Absolutely.
Okay. Lou Cassidy, your thoughts when we come back. Dr. Shealy and I and Lou will be right back. Class, if you've got any questions about what we're talking about, you'd like to call us 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. And I'd like to share this with you. I got a call from Sharon, USA Preparedness instructor in Montana, and she said there is a telephone listen line that's working, and she wanted to share that number with you. That number is 701-719-0914, 701-719-0914, and you can listen to it's delayed about an hour, but you can listen to different options. You can listen to today, yesterday, 5 days ago by pressing, 1, 2, 3, 5, etc. on your phone. Repeat, 701-719-0914. And when we learned that the Zeno Radio telephone listen line that's live is operational, we will certainly report that so that you can go back to listening live or delayed. So that's the update. Lou Cassidy, do you have any comments on what we've been talking about with the PEMF device?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the hospitality over the weekend. I had a great time down there with you and Dr. Shealy and John Statmiller and the Shanes and the whole group back together, and I just really enjoyed that, and I just want to let you know that I really appreciate that.
We need to do that once a year and have the whole faculty, don't you think? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, I agree. That would. That's great. Mm-hmm. You got a great place to do it, too. I love your farm. It's great.
Hey, thanks, Lou. Mutual.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Vince, I do want to tell people how marvelous your amazing technology in solar energy is. I mean, I am stunned at the intricacy and the extent of the creation.
That is a very impressive solar array and battery bank and all that stuff you got there, Vinny. It is great.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. We were off grid, when some of our faculty was here on Sunday. We were off grid, and it was nice and bright and sunny for a couple days, and we were generating a lot of electricity from the sun, and we were storing it. And when we had our little get-together, our Thanksgiving get-together on Sunday, which we were thinking was Thanksgiving, because what is the reason for Thanksgiving? We are really thankful for the many blessings and the opportunities and so forth that we had it on Sunday as well as Friday. We thought one day wasn't enough, but it was. We were off the grid, and it was a lot of fun. And I appreciate what you said about the array. And I plan on taking some pictures of it and putting it on the website so people can see what we're talking about. It's still a work in progress. There's still a lot of things that I'd like to do to improve it. It probably will never be finished, just like your research, Dr. Shealy. And something has happened, and I can't explain it, but I have a feeling that the same thing happened to you, Dr. Shealy. All of a sudden, a renewed drive to build bigger, better, smarter, and I'm not talking about spying smarter, but I mean more creativity. I've got the drive to do that, and you have too. Can you, Dr. Shealy, do you have any idea why this has happened to us independently?
Well, it's hard to say, Vince. If we have time to discuss it yet, let's bring up the idea that in the last 2 years, it's been that long since yours were tested, your telomeres have not shrunk the average of 1% a year, despite your having a significant illness. Mm-hmm. They've actually grown something modestly. And that's without any specific known approach. Now, part of that could be your exposure to the adrenoscaler, mm-hmm. Because you haven't had the PEMF to use for that long. That couldn't be the fact. And you haven't, I don't know when you stopped using the 3 bliss oils for telomere regeneration, but I think that was over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I use Air Bliss.
Right. Air is good, but fire, earth, and crystal are the ones that have been proven to regenerate telomeres 3.5% a year. Mm-hmm. But the fact that despite a significant illness, you've not only managed well all of these last year and a half, but your telomeres have grown about 1% instead of shrinking 2% in this period of time. So I think that many of the things you're doing have contributed to that, and that probably includes the exposure to scalar.
Well, let me share with you. I brought the scalar device that you and Lou have created. I had, according to my understanding, I had number 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the earliest models that, and I was using it. And I was so impressed, and I shared that on the air. Well, I exchanged that one with you, and I got the latest version. And I've been using that in the bedroom, and I had it a couple feet away, and maybe 3 feet away. And I thought, no, I need to bring it closer. So it's as close as I can get without running into it while I sleep. And and so when you were here and the others were here, I brought it from the bedroom, and I brought it down so everybody could see what this looks like. And I had it in the kitchen on an old ice box. In class, when I say ice box, I don't mean refrigerator. I mean an old ice box from the early 1920s of the previous century that my grandmother had in their house. And my mom refinished it, so it's in our kitchen right now. And I have the scalar, the sapphire enhanced adrenomedullin scalar device in the kitchen so everybody could see it. Well, I left it down there because we spent some time in the kitchen. And last night, before going to bed, I went to bed and I said, wait a minute, it's down in the kitchen.
Where's
so
my feeling?
Well, that's the question. That's the question I was going to ask you. I had withdrawal. Now, is that possible? Is that possible that I had withdrawal from it because I ran down, I got to get it. And it was like, I won't say it's a panic attack because it wasn't like that, but it was a sense of, I won't say urgency, but it was, I have to do this. And although it's not a lot of fun going up and down the stairs, I did it because I thought that it was something that was necessary. Has anyone experienced that, Dr. Shealy? A sense of withdrawal from...
I have not heard that, Vince, but then remember, other than in our research project, we don't have much feedback yet. And, of course, the people in the original research project got 36 hours over a 4-week period, and then they came back for just 3 hours for the follow-up research project. So, but a number of people have said that they felt a lot better, at the end of each therapy session, and it did fade over the next day or two. So I think when you use it a lot, you might not feel its benefit, because what it's doing, among other things, is protecting you from other negative electromagnetic forces. In other words, scalar apparently blocks the negative 60-cycle EMF.
Lou, have you done research with that as well?
Well, when I sleep at night, I have the scalar at my head and the PEMF at my feet.
I love it.
And that, with that combination, I tell you what, I'm just going on and on and on like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, it just seems like I have tremendous energy.
All right. I was thinking about how I was going to do that, and I came up with something a little bit different, and I'd like to get your opinion on what you think. I was going to put the PEMF device, the PEMF coil, under my, like the center of my chest where I sleep. I wanted to put it there under like a mattress pad, if you will, just so it's not so lumpy. And then the scalar, the adrenomedullin sapphire enhanced device, at my head on the nightstand. Is that too close together, Lou? Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's fine. In fact, interestingly, by the way, scalar near your head increases delta, which is deep relaxation. Mm-hmm. And so you really don't want the PEMF device on your head during sleep, but the scalar would be wonderful, and the PEMF then anywhere below that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have two coils between the mattress and box springs. One PEMF coil is right around my midsection, and the other one is toward my feet, and then the scalar at the head of it. It seems to work well for me. And the scalar, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but with the scalar, I have very, very vivid dreams. Color, the whole bit. I mean, it just, I live another life at night now.
Well, I have to say that, unfortunately, I have always had a lot of dreams. I call it wall-to-wall dreaming. Anytime I'm awake enough to know that I've wakened up briefly, I've just finished a dream. Interestingly, ordinarily, as almost everybody knows, I go to bed by 9 o'clock because I get up at 5. Well, last night I had guests, and I didn't get to bed until 10 o'clock. And the first thing I know is 6:25 this morning. I can't remember sleeping to 6 o'clock in the morning, less than 6:25.
Well, Dr. Shealy, has it had any effect on your dreams that you've noticed?
I can't tell because I have so many dreams normally.
You just have many? Well, I do too. I normally have a lot of dreams, but this seems to have enhanced them a little bit.
Right.
When we get back, Lou, I'd like to have you answer this. Are you dreaming in full Technicolor? Are you a part of your dream? Are you an active character in your dream, or are you watching things in part of your dream? We'll be right back. That's Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. Lou Cassidy's with us. And if you'd like to go to Norm Shealy's website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com, and you can peruse the website and find optimal health recommendations and check out Dr. Shealy's offerings at his store and check out his specials. And before we get back into dreaming in Technicolor, I just have a couple quick comments. Yesterday I was broadcasting with Rich Sheben, and after the broadcast, he and I were talking about Bitcoin. And we were talking about how it's vaporware and how it's a concept. And yes, there are some risks. And I was telling Rich Sheben how quickly it is increasing. So yesterday, it was just under $10,000. It was about $30 less than $10,000. I'm thinking, when is it going to go over $10,000? Well, I just clicked during the break, and it was $10,990. Over $1,000 more than it was yesterday. It's increased more than 10% in one day. One day. Now, I thought, well, I wonder how quickly this thing is really moving. You know, it's 10,990. So I click it again, 15 seconds later. It's now at 11,126. It's over 11,000 right now. This thing is moving, and it looks like this really may eclipse the Federal Reserve accounting unit dollar, the fraud. And this may be the guy that's blamed for the collapse of the U.S. dollar. It may be, in my opinion. So I just wanted to share that with you. So, you know, the feds can say, well, you know what, we didn't do it. It's that darn Bitcoin that did it. And all the blame goes on whom? Nobody. It goes on all of those who are involved in Bitcoin. What a great scapegoat to get out from under we know it's going to collapse, the U.S. Federal Reserve note. So I just wanted to mention that. Back to you, Lou, dreaming in Technicolor. Are you now dreaming in Technicolor? And if so, are you watching the main, we'll call it the main character in your dream, or are you the main person in the dream? How is it working for you?
Well, before the scalar, I did dream in Technicolor sometimes, and I was generally in the dream more often than not. And now, with the scalar, I'm having more Technicolor, and Dr. Shealy may, that may be, I don't know, a deeper state of sleep, I don't know. But it seems like I'm having more Technicolor, and I'm definitely a participant. I'm in the dream. I'm living it. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about PTSD before, and I still have, residuals from Vietnam, stuff like that. But the scalar doesn't seem to enhance those kind of dreams.
That's good.
So I don't know what that all means, but that's just my experience.
Now, when you say those kind of dreams, you're talking about like sleeping in the rice paddy, standing up, leaning on a log, and picking the leeches up, picking the leaches off your legs in the morning. I mean, horrible things like that. Just the bad memories of that. It doesn't seem to enhance that sort of thing. All right. Well, let me ask you both a personal question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I will give my response. So here's what I found. I found that I don't have to get up at night and urinate. How's that?
Hey, I slept 8.5 hours last night without that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now, is that another part of this?
I hope so. I think so, maybe.
Well, I generally get up 2 or 3 times a night, and not so much anymore. Not as much. Maybe once or twice.
Wow. Okay, class. None of this was rehearsed. No talking points. This is just, you heard it live. And we're talking about the device that Dr. Shealy and Lou Cassidy have collaborated on, and you can get it at Dr. Shealy's website, normshealy.com.